Hey and welcome to BoatProjectY. Thank you for joining us as we unveil the secrets behind transforming this extraordinary vessel and discover the hard work, the exceptional craftsmanship and the unyielding spirit of adventure that accompanies every build. Alright you all, welcome back to Project Y. Delicious temperatures for spending a full day on the boat and hopefully taking yet another step in the right direction. Last time I left you with a gaping hole in the boat. Well, today is that day that we close the hole with brand new steel, no hesitation. And the reason why I want to do this properly is obvious. I want the perfect boat in the end, but also because most of the entire port side below the waterline still needs to be renewed. So I really want this aft section in tip-top condition for what's coming up next. The plan is to build a kind of a pyramid under the keel, the strongest point of the hull, and then jack the entire boat up with a heavy-duty pump. Honestly, I don't see any other way of replacing the steel that is currently trapped under the boat cradle without renting a crane again. I read all of your extremely helpful comments, and yes, you are absolutely right. I'm kind of doing this backwards, so in the next episode, and I dearly promise, I'll do it the proper way. The correct way is of course to first repair the ribs on the inside and then, and only then, weld the new steel on the outside. Here you see me still trying to weld the new steel section at the very aft of the stern back into their place with surgical precision, while reinforcing and repairing the ribs when needed, making this boat stronger than ever before. You can clearly see that steel that I want to replace. It's thin, it's corroded, the ribs are completely gone, but the boat cradle is obstructing my access to it. Alright then, time to tackle that gaping hole. The nice thing about my reversed wrong method is that I now have lots of space to perfectly prepare the old steel before welcoming the new steel aboard. Again, this is not the correct method to go about it, but it does come with some pretty spectacular fireworks. You can clearly see how these old ribs in this area are completely rotten and need to be replaced entirely. To prep the old steel even better, I'm immediately cutting away the surrounding rotten sections as well. Time for another dry fit, and I can already hear you asking, but how are you gonna get that curvature in the hull back into the new steel? Well, this is my solution. I know it won't work everywhere, and for the next plates I'll definitely repair the ribs first and only then add the new steel, but hey, this is where we are. You know how they always say the first cut is the deepest? Well, to get everything absolutely right, I got a bit carried away and also cut out a second piece that wasn't quite perfect neither. At this point, I've completely lost all my fear of cutting the steel out of the boat. Better do it right the first time. Okay then, where were we again? Oh yeah, fitting this new steel into the hull. The first piece, and definitely not the last. I want to have them all perfect, so I take my time, checking the fit and the curvature, and then I can finally weld the new plate into place. And while we're at it, we repair the ribs and make the boat stronger than ever. I've done my absolute best, and this structure will now carry the boat while it pivots on the front axle of the boat cradle. And then now for something completely different, my friends, let me give you a quick boat repair 101, how to close a hole in your boat. There used to be an exhaust here, probably from a heater, and I want it gone. So I made a wooden template with a hole slightly larger than the hole in the hull. I cut the wood so it would perfectly fit in between two ribs, which stabilizes everything very nicely. Et voila! My tools, the hole saw and cutting oil. Very important for the long life of your hole saw, never to overheat it. So I apply some of this cutting oil, use a slow rotation but apply steady pressure. Easy does it. It always goes slower than you think, but in the end, this lovely little tool cuts a perfect hole in my hull. Then I asked my steel supplier to cut round steel plugs with exactly the same diameter as the hole saw, and it fits like a glove. A few tack welds to keep it perfectly centered, and then I can start welding the plug fully into place. I chose not to weld the entire circle in one go, but in thirds, to keep the heat input to a minimum. Even though there's a lot of steel around it to absorb the heat, better safe than sorry. After 3 passes, a quick cleanup with a wire brush, and yes, this may not be the prettiest weld ever, but I want to keep as much material as possible on the inside. The visible side, the outside, will be ground smoothly. So out comes the grinder. Everything gets cleaned back to fresh steel, and then I grind a shallow groove using an old grinding disc. The older grinding discs are slightly rounded, and that's perfect for this. This groove ensures a deep penetration and avoids weak spots or possible future leaks. Now it's just a matter of filling that groove completely with weld, clean it up and grind it smooth. And look at that! One lick of paint and you'd never know there was a hole in the boat. I'm away from the boat for a little bit, professional obligations call, but luckily my father already calculated a full step-by-step plan for the new floor in the aft cabin. Including the layout of the new floor plates that we bought, and, most importantly, the long-awaited staircase to the aft cabin. Fully designed, calculated and ready to build. And he even built it. Thank you, Dad. Truly amazing work. Dad, honestly, I don't know how this boat will ever get finished without you. Step by step together, we're turning her back into the gracious lady she once was. See you in the next episode. Ahoy, my friends.